A lot of you who watch this are going to be so angry and you're going to project that anger at me, and that's okay. Get ready with me while I tell you about the crime that I went to prison for and how I ended up meeting my victim when I got out of prison. I'm going to go into some details here, so just be warned that this is a really sensitive subject. The last time I posted about this, I was just attacked in the comments. So I'm expecting it and I'm okay with it. It was January, it was really cold outside, and I was at the height of my addiction. I was addicted to heroin, alcohol, and crack cocaine. I was with this guy. He had been my boyfriend for 3 or 4 years, and I couldn't imagine my life without him, but he'd gotten really mean and abusive. He had a brother who had just gotten out of prison, and his brother was kind of staying with us off and on. All three of us were addicted to drugs. I was at a point in my life where I knew that my addiction was going to kill me, and it was just a matter of time, and I welcomed it. I was ready. Was with my boyfriend and his brother, and we were riding around. I had come up with a plan to get some money, and the plan was that I was going to go into a bar, find a man who looked like he had money, and I was going to trick him into coming outside the bar with me, and they were going to be waiting outside to rob him. The plan was that if I had my hair pulled up into a ponytail, then that was their signal to rob him. And if my hair was down, then that was their signal to leave him alone and that I would get the money a different way. So I went into this bar and I found a man who was sitting alone, and he asked if he could buy me a drink. And we sat there and we talked, and I remember thinking, I have to make money one way or another. And I was like, I don't want to do it the hard way. So I took the hair tie that was around my wrist and I pulled my hair up in a ponytail. We got into his car and I told him to go to a place and park. As soon as we parked, my boyfriend and his brother got out of their car and they came running over to the car that we were in, and they were screaming as they had him outside of his car, his hands on his head, on his knees, saying, "Please don't kill me, please don't kill me." At that point, I hated my life and I wanted to die. They took his money and they were like, Amanda, come on, get in the car. And so I did. We got in the car and we drove away. I remember being in the back seat and they were animated and full of adrenaline. We drove back to the house, and when we turned on the dirt road leading to our house, through the trees, you could see blue lights all over our house. They were everywhere. My boyfriend's brother chucked the gun into like the weeds and stuff. We pulled up to the house. There was literally no getting around it, and they surrounded our car and arrested all three of us for armed robbery. Exactly 1 year to the day, I went in front of a judge and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. My boyfriend had already gone in front of a judge. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison. His brother was actually the first one to go in front of the judge, and he was sentenced to 22 years in prison. My first day in prison, I was at rock bottom and I asked Jesus into my heart. Actually, I asked him if he was real and if he would help me. And I immediately felt the Holy Spirit, and I knew that things were going to be different. Even though I felt forgiven by God, I could not forgive myself for that and for some other things I had done while I was in my addiction. And so I struggled. But I really wanted to stay sober. And so when I got out, I went straight to a 12-step meeting. I had gotten a little job and I was working at a restaurant as a waitress. One day I was at work and we had a new server on the floor, and she and I were talking while it was slow, and she had on this beautiful engagement ring. And I remember asking her, like, "Oh my gosh, who are you marrying?" And she said the name of my victim. And I was floored. This guy had been a little bit older and she was younger, so I didn't see her marrying him, and figured out that she was marrying my victim's son. He was a junior. I asked her if she thought he would be willing to come and meet me. She came into the restaurant the next day and she was like, yeah, he'd be willing to meet you. He ended up coming into the restaurant and allowing me to make amends to him. We sat at a little table and I was really nervous, and I told him that I was sorry and that I would pay the money back. I'm not court ordered to pay him back, but I felt like I needed to do that. I didn't have $460, and so I gave him money orders of $50 each week, and he had some things to say too about how it had affected him. Got it from the table, and he said, but I just want to let you know, I do forgive you. And then he put like this big burly arm around my shoulder, and I don't know, that just felt so good.